Warner, you've got bigger tits than a prom queen. It's disgusting. Carole King's thick-lashed gaze crawled over Matt Warner's stout frame, pausing momentarily to register a flicker of barely disguised contempt at a small fold of flesh that stuck out awkwardly over her accountant's waist as she addressed him. His shoulder-length dark hair was rumpled, he clearly needed a shave, and there were deep dark lines under his bloodshot eyes. His kindly, boyish face was the only thing preventing the 25-year-old from looking middle-aged. Matt's suit looked as if he had slept in it. He had, after getting severely intoxicated the night before, in order to steel his nerves for his confrontation with one of the most feared figures in the city. Matt had found in life that most people are not quite as good as you'd hoped they'd be, and not quite as bad as you might have feared. Carole was the exception that proved the rule. She was 100% bitch. Carole was middle-aged, but had a body that could have easily passed for someone in their early 20s, her physique chiseled to perfection to an almost maniacal degree by a combination of daily personal training and a dietary regime followed with almost religious zeal, administered by her long-suffering medical doctor partner. Her eyes were small and cruel, her lips pencil-thin, and permanently curled into a caustic half-smile that suggested she knew far more about your world and your place in it than you ever could. Her harshly cropped bob perfectly epitomized her self-assured, no-nonsense persona. Matt was disappointed but hardly surprised by her comment. Out of a finance department of 40, he alone represented his mistress's token lip service to the previous regime. Like the feared warlords of the ancient world, Carole always spared one survivor from the massacre, one who would terrorize the others with tales of their leader's prior brutality. Most people in this business, Matt, do not let themselves go. They do not get flabby, bloating their bellies with junk food and cheap alcohol. His line manager opined, her voice low and demanding. Although he had only been on the job for 2 months, he already knew enough about the woman sitting opposite him to realize that these statements were not an invitation to debate the pros and cons of healthy living. Rather, they were pearls of priceless wisdom cast before the undeserving swine that littered Cutting Edge Solutions Limited's workplace. Swine that Carole King, CEO and head of commercial, deigned to speak to, but only on those relatively rare occasions when they could offer her something valuable, or, conversely, when they could offer her nothing of value at all and consequently had to receive the talk. Matt was fairly sure that he was currently mired firmly in the latter category. The talk was as ubiquitous to Cutting Edge Solutions as its CEO's painfully false smiles. Matt's former boss had been one of the many unfortunate recipients of Carole's unique one-on-one performance appraisals. Matt had moved with Annette Campbell from a small regional firm following one of Miss King's legendary competition law-defying acquisition frenzies. The meetings had an almost comical predictability to them, proving that even if Carole was the ultimate micromanager tyrannical boss from hell, at least her victims could take some form of comfort in their being forewarned of their fate. It always started with Carole informing the victim that they had some super qualities. They were hardworking, a team player, gelled well with their coworkers. Carole was halfway through telling Matt how much of a team player he was and how everyone liked him when the penny finally dropped. This is it. I'm getting it. Lubed up, hog-tied, then fucked like a sock puppet on crack, Deliverance style. Goodbye mocha lattes and nightclub passes. Hello, battling to the death at interview beauty parades with 100+ candidates in the fabulous new 50% less fat economy. Matt Warner, unemployed. All things being equal, I'd rather have you on my team than not, the CEO opined, condescendingly placing her hand on his in a cloyingly false display of empathy. It took colossal self-control on the part of the young accountant to resist the overwhelming urge to stab his oppressor with a nearby biro. That's very good of you to say, Carole. It's appreciated. Matt felt like stabbing himself with a biro, too, as soon as words had left his mouth. But I have to say that you're struggling. I say that as a friend, as well as your line manager. In some ways, I think it would be better for all concerned for you to move on. A kindness. Matt knew that this simply was not correct. His client feedback was quite outstanding, his billable hours amongst the best in the company. He was also painfully aware of the fact that Carol had a nephew nearing qualification who just happened to live near the office, and that anyone who had disagreed with Carol's uncharitable assessment of their abilities had left the company without a reference and any hope of ever being employed in the industry again. He further knew that what he said in the next few minutes would be amongst the most important words in his life. "Carol, His line manager interjected, pleasantly but authoritatively, as soon as he had opened his swiftly drying mouth. "I know what you're going to say, Matt, because I've been considering the same points myself. You're going to say that the clientele love you, which they do. You're going to say that you receive excellent customer feedback, which you do. However, with the best will in the world, these people are not accountants, Matt. They are lay people, ignorant of many fundamental requirements of our profession." She paused for dramatic effect, enjoying the visible inner struggle that Matt was experiencing, between his trying to maintain professional detachment and his desire to defend himself from what she knew were inaccurate and career-ending comments. "The one thing you don't have is the one thing that you need most in this business: the confidence of your colleagues." Carol King leaned forward, savoring the moment. "I'm sorry to say, Matt, that feedback from your colleagues does not inspire. It does not, Matthew, suggest that you are a shining addition to the business firmament of cutting-edge solution. Our clients deserve better." The CEO savagely stuck her leather-bound office desk in a show of bravura, aimed more at the terrified masses watching through the room's barely shuttered glass walls than the startling young accountant. "God damn it, Warner, I deserve better!" "Miss King, if I may..." Carol King sat back in affected deference, waving him on. "You say I don't have the confidence of my colleagues. Okay. You say that the feedback I receive from our clients is not compelling. Again, okay. But I'm still unclear as to what it is exactly that I've done to let this business down so badly that you're talking about my moving on." She drew herself up to her not inconsiderable height, coiling back like a particularly affronted cobra ready to finally silence an impudent and bothersome mongoose. "I thought that I had already made myself perfectly clear. Well then, if I have not, then hopefully this will help. You're shabby, Matt. Not just a little tubby, you're seriously overweight. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're morbidly obese. Take a look around out there. Go ahead, look. What do you see? I'm pretty damn sure you won't see any XLs or any salad dodgers. I mean, Jesus, when was the last time you went to the gym? Forget that. Have you ever been to the gym? If the first thing that a client sees is your beer belly, a logical question that they may ask themselves may be, if he can't even look after his own goddamn appearance, how the hell can he look after my financial affairs? Good health and good client service go hand in hand, Matt. It's synergy in motion. A healthy body is a competitive advantage. Healthy living can lead to enhanced career prospects, and unhealthy living, well, business is business, after all." The CEO's eyes flashed with malice as her dark expression communicated the dire consequences of not meeting Carol King's expectations concerning one's body mass index. She smiled sourly, then continued. "Our employees stress with their appearance. They impress with their appearance. You, Matthew, simply depress." It was true that he had let himself go a bit. Carol and her team had terrorized him so unrelentingly that he had no longer had any self-confidence left, either personal or professional. One of the few things that he could do to numb the stress was to comfort eat, which, the last time he had checked, was neither a crime nor reasonable grounds for dismissal for gross misconduct. He knew it was risky, but had decided to at least go down fighting rather than with a whimper like Annette had. "Miss King, I'm sure I can address these matters in a manner that will be satisfactory to you. With the greatest respect, I'm not a trainee fresh out of college." "Oh?" Carol's meticulously painted lips curled into a cold smirk, her eyes never leaving the direction of her desktop, which evidently held more of interest to her than the current conversation. "Aren't you? Given the standard of your work and the consequent need for almost constant supervision by other more able members of the staff, one could be forgiven for believing that you were still on your training contract. I think that's perhaps being a little unkind, Ms. King. The CEO glowered with terrible intensity as she brought her face level with his, venomous spittle splattering his glasses. Don't you dare answer me back, you arrogant little bastard! Reputations are the only thing that matter in this world, and if you don't shut that fucking mouth of yours, so help me God, I will ensure that you walk out of here with a non-returnable one-way ticket to Fucksville that will ensure that you are the luckiest motherfucker of your retarded IQ, bereft generation to get a job at Mom and Pop's in Bumblefuck USA. My mother's dog, if it had opposable thumbs, would be of more use to this organization than you. She then addressed him in a hushed, cold tone, which, in its own way, was immeasurably more intimidating than her expletive-laden outburst. You have the next week to think over what I've just said. You know the reason for my concern. If you are not able to successfully address that concern by 9 a.m. on the following Monday morning, then I will accept your resignation and put you on garden leave for the duration of your notice period. You will not receive a reference, as I could not, in good conscience, now supply one. I suggest that you take the rest of the afternoon off to consider your position. Carol reclined back in her chair triumphantly. He had made only one mistake in his reaction toward her, and she had capitalized on it ruthlessly. Victory was hers, and she knew it. Matt fought hard to hold back tears as he felt his cheeks go crimson with embarrassment. The whole of the office had just heard the she-tyrant's tirade. The news would soon be circulated around the company's sister offices via email, phone call, and instant messaging. Matt Warner, dead man walking. He had Friday afternoon and the coming weekend to completely alter his physical appearance, or hit the unemployment line. He stood up, straightened his tie, and made for the door in as composed a manner as he was able. The only words that came to him in his dazed state were, "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" Carol repeated the word as if having heard it for the first time. "Sorry." She repeated it again, rolling it around in her mouth like a particularly rubbery gobstopper. She shook her head in mock disbelief, then fixed Matt with an unnerving, scowl-filled gaze. "No, sweetie. I'm the one who's sorry. I hired you."